Good morning, Little Masters, and welcome back to today's Tolkien Times. I'm Alan, the man of the West, also from the Prancing Pony podcast, and today's Tolkien Times is just my way of bringing you a little Middle-earth every single day. And if you find yourself thinking, I could spend a couple of hours listening to a good Tolkien podcast, go check out the Prancing Pony podcast as we continue our years-long walkthrough of the Legendarium. But let's get started today with Fandom Friday. Now, every Friday we plan on sitting down and visiting with somebody from the wider world of the Tolkien fandom. From artists to academics, cosplayers to collectors, Elvish experts to map masters, Fandom Friday is a chance to meet your fellow Tolkien fans and maybe even learn what niches of the community you might be interested in exploring. And today we are welcoming one of my favorite content creators on TickTok. Her knowledge of the lore is unquestionable. Her Elvish pronunciation is a thing of beauty. I could listen to those rolled R's all day. And the fact that she's also a Star Trek fan just pushes her right over the top in my book. Folks, please welcome Lee of Silmarillieanne to today's Tolkien Times.
Hi.
Hi. It's good to have you.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I'm going to continue a PPP tradition here by asking this question, but there's a reason the stories are always worth hearing. How and when did you first encounter Tolkien's works, and what is it that keeps you coming back?
Okay, my first encounter with Tolkien's works was I was about 6 or 7. My mum and dad were going through the loft, sorting out old things. My dad found his old copy of The Hobbit, gave it to me. I remember jumping up and down on the sofa trying to get him to read it to me right there and then. He was like, obviously he's busy, they're sorting stuff out. I managed to get him to read the first page to me. So I got In a Hole in the Ground, There Lived a Hobbit and all that. And then pretty much every night from then on, he would read it to me before bed. And yeah, that was my first intro in it. It was my dad then, who then a few years later, when I was 10, gave me his old copy of Lord of the Rings, which I then read, just devoured that as well, and the rest is history, I guess. That was it. I was in then. There was no coming back out.
No. Well, what is it about Tolkien that keeps you coming back, right? I mean, we read all sorts of books, and many of them we read once and we put back. And we're like, yeah, that was a good book. Yeah. But what is it that keeps you coming back to Middle-earth?
I think one of the things with Tolkien is there's always something new to learn and discover. So I've been into it now for over 20 years, and I'm still learning stuff. I'm still going through the history of Middle-earth books or watching other people's videos, and I'm still learning stuff and discovering more. There's always more there, but I think there's an attachment to the characters as well. It's like these characters feel like friends to me. Like they've been with me for so long, and I just sometimes I might file away something else or take my interest for a bit, but then I always come back. It's like coming back to Tolkien is like coming home. That's what it feels like to me. And it's
beautifully said.
Yeah, it's a comfort. It's like if I just need something to comfort me, I will just read Fellowship of the Ring, because it's the most warm and homely and comforting ones, especially the beginning with the party and the hobbits and stuff.
All the stuff in the Shire, exactly.
Yeah,
Tolkien does a masterful job of transitioning from that tone of the Hobbit to what we get later in the Lord of the Rings, that really kind of mythic, epic lore.
Absolutely. Yeah,
and those first few chapters are where that happens. It's great.
It's just so cozy, and there's actually parts you laugh out loud, cozy. The hobbits at the party, where it's the person whose birthday it is gives presents to the guests, so they're sneaking out to come back around and get another present, and I just find it
giving
absolutely
presents adorable. To all and sundry. Yeah,
but it's just it's such people would do that, wouldn't they? And and I don't know, they just.
People would need to be carried out in wheelbarrows the next day. Yeah,
I know, it's just so warm and fuzzy in how nice it is, and it feels like it's like a warm hug, and it feels like coming home.
You're a hobbit at heart.
I think so. I like to pretend I'm an elf, but deep down, I'm a hobbit.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm a hobbit.
I hear that. Well, tell us a bit about how and why you got started creating these lore videos that you do on TikTok. And what is it maybe about that platform in particular that works well for you or for the people you're trying to reach?
TikTok started for me mostly because as Rings of Power was approaching, I just had all these thoughts going on in my head because I was so excited, that we were getting the Second Age, we were getting Numenor, all those things. And I needed to get it out, to express it. But while I have a lot of friends who are into Tolkien and Lord of the Rings as well, not quite at the same level. So I was just like,
I hear that.
I basically made a TikTok just so I had somewhere to get it out that didn't need to have like production values, which I feel you do on YouTube. And it was just so much, and I didn't really expect anything much to come of it. It was just a way for me to get it out there, and then people are interacting on my videos and stuff. And it's like, wow, okay. But I like that about TikTok, that it can be more casual, that it's literally just me with my phone talking to it.
Yeah.
And I always try to do it in the style as if I like videos and content where it's like you could be having a discussion in the pub or something like that, where it's casual and friendly. I mean, I've thought about transitioning to YouTube, but I just don't have the time and energy for, as I say, like, it feels like you need higher production values for it. TikTok is easy, it's casual, and it's been a great platform for me to do that. But it was literally because I needed somewhere to rant excitedly about Rings of Power.
Things.
Yeah, I just needed to be like, oh my god, Celebrimban's going to be in it.
Long enough to actually care about him before he becomes an unfortunate pincushion. Yeah.
Oh, no, that's gonna.
Poor Banner, kill a Banner.
Celebrimbanner.
That poor guy. Spoilers, I should have said.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
That's weird as well. The fact we're talking about second age stuff now. We have to give a spoiler warning. It's so bizarre.
I know, we really do.
It's so weird. But like having people who otherwise would have had no idea who like Celebrimbor is or what a Raytheon is, and suddenly they're asking me questions, and I'm like, I've dreamed of this.
Yes. Yes, I've been preparing for this day all my life. Yeah.
Like, finally, my time has come.
Well, talk to us a little bit about your experience with the Tolkien fandom as a whole. It can be, shall we say, as you mentioned, especially Rings of Power, a very opinionated place at times. How do you ensure that folks feel welcome in your corner of the fandom?
I try to keep it like very open, and because I get a lot of comments from people saying, can you explain this? I'm sorry, I don't understand. Or they'll ask a question. Like, literally, people will apologize to me for not knowing stuff. And I'm
my goodness.
like, don't apologize. Secondly, it gives me an opportunity to talk about it. So I'm happy because I get to, pontificate about this. I love that. But, just like being welcome to fans of like whatever level of fandom they're at, whatever level their knowledge is at. Just being open and welcoming to them, and like no gatekeeping, if you've only seen the films, you're not a fan. Because how does any fandom get to continue if we don't let new fans in? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
I know exactly what you mean.
I've encountered people who are like, oh well, I've been a Tolkien fan for 40 years, and it's like, congratulations on being older than me. Because
watch it now.
You know what I mean, though. It's like, just because
everybody thinks, please say goodbye to Lee as we.
That's because the thing has been a fan longer that you're
right. Exactly. That doesn't give you any more legitimacy as a fan. It doesn't make your fandom worth more.
Exactly.
And I get that. Yeah.
And again, fandom's not going to live on if we don't let new fans in. Everyone starts as a noob. Everyone is a newbie to begin with. We all were.
Yeah.
So be welcoming to them, encourage them into it, talk about them to it, nurture their interest in it. Don't scare them away.
How are they going to be interested in the books if the people who like the books the most are the most critical of them because they came into the fandom through the films or even through the TV show?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, because it's a very similar thing that's happened with Rings of Power. Is regardless of what anyone thinks of Rings of Power, it has generated more interest in Tolkien. And I know more friends. I know people who've started reading the books because they've got interested in that period of history in the Earth, so they want to learn more about it. And that's brilliant, and we need to nurture that and welcome that, regardless of whether you like Rings of Power itself or not.
Agreed. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, then the longer this fandom goes, and I know this is an interview of you, not of me, but I kind of want to throw this out there because I think we're almost saying the same thing, that the longer the fandom goes, the more people are going to be coming to it through adaptations of some kind.
Yeah.
Whether it's Rings of Power, whether it's the Jackson films, whether it's the War of the Rohirrim coming out in theaters next year, whether it's a video game.
Yeah.
People are going to be coming to it through adaptations. And those of us who are, absolutely in love with the books, that's fine. And we want to share those things with these new people. But to do that, we have to welcome them first. Exactly. And that's key.
The fact that, I hate saying this, but the fact that the films are now 20 years old means that
you keep bringing things up that makes
me feel old. I hate that. And I was just lucky that I did read the book before the films, but it was only just. For a lot of people of my age and definitely younger, it's very, very unlikely that they will have had a chance to read the books before they've seen the films, because the films are just
correct
a pop culture thing, they're like a staple.
They're ubiquitous now. They're on all the channels all the time. And how do you get to be 12 or 13, let's say, when you would normally read The Lord of the Rings without having seen those movies?
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's so unlikely to happen these days, but it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. If it still leads people into Tolkien, however they get there, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, agreed. Well, quick question before we go. It doesn't take much of a scroll through your stuff to see you're also quite a cosplayer. Now, sticking with Middle-earth characters, who's the one character you would most like to cosplay as, including if you already have, and who's the one character you would never want to cosplay as?
I really want to improve my Varda cosplay.
Okay.
I love to, literally nobody knows who I am when I wear it, because it's such a niche cosplay, but
it is kind of niche. That's true.
People are still stopping me for photos and stuff. So,
sure, I'm sure it's a lovely costume. But who are you?
And then it's how do I explain who I am? It's in the beginning there was a Luvatard.
I created the stars.
Well, you have to how do you explain who Varda is without explaining what Arda is? So but that was one I'd like to improve that. I'd love to do all the female Valia. Or even just the female Adatar, so Yavanna, Varda, Yavanna, and Yenna are definitely ones I'd love to do. As for I wouldn't want to do, I don't know really. I think I'd give a shot to anyone in it. I can't really think of anyone I wouldn't do.
Okay. Wasn't sure if there was, there are some characters that I just
probably Gollum.
Don't like.
To be fair, I probably wouldn't try Gollum.
Okay, there you go. That's fair. That's fair. Well, finally, where can people find your work and follow you on TikTok or any place else?
I am on TikTok as Silmarillieanne. I also have a separate cosplay TikTok, which I forget to post that, which is Celestial_Wanderer. But I do post under that on Instagram. So Instagram as Celestial_Wanderer, TikTok as Silmarillieanne.
All right. And I'll make sure those are in the show notes as well. So, folks, that is it for today's Fandom Friday. But come back next week as we visit with somebody else who does something else in the Tolkien fandom. And if you're interested in joining me here on today's Tolkien Times for a future Fandom Friday, let me know by emailing barnaman@theprancingponypodcast.com. But folks, plan on joining me again tomorrow on today's Tolkien Times as we wrap up our week with Silmarillion Saturday. That's Silmarillion, not Silmarillianne Saturday. Now, please like and subscribe on YouTube. And if you're listening on a podcast app, be sure to follow or subscribe to make sure that every episode gets downloaded to your device. Follow @Tolkien Times on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And in the words of Faramir, go with the goodwill of all good men.